it's Sarah here, welcome back to this channel, and in this video we're going to be doing a book talk about the book Murder Trending by Gretchen McNeil. You guys saw me read this in a reading vlog a little while ago, and you kind of saw my reactions, but I didn't really tell you any of my thoughts, and that is what this video is for. Starting off, I rated this book a 5 out of 5. I think it was a very well written thriller that kept me on my toes the entire time, which is honestly what I really want in a book that involves murder and mystery. Honestly, it kept me so entertained that I actually wiped out my entire schedule to read this in one night, which I did if you watched that reading vlog. I started at I think like 3 p.m. and ended at 1:30 a.m. So I read it in the span of 24 hours. Honestly, I loved this book. There were so many plot twists that I was not expecting, and throughout the book it made me think of so many theories that could have happened. I thought of like a total of 5 theories and I only got 2 of them right. There was a third one that you could have counted wrong or right, so I'm kind of in the middle with that one, and I'm not going to tell you obviously because it would be very spoiler oriented. So if you want to figure out my theories, continue watching on with the video and into the spoilery section. But as of right now, I'm just telling you this is a very interesting book that will keep you on your toes, keep your mind spinning and turning and trying to figure out who the actual killer is. I'm going to be very honest with you. This book was completely different than what I thought it was going to be. I thought she was going to be sent into an island that was going to be like a complete prison. Prison cells with like fenced up yards and fenced up everything, guards at every station. This was so different from what I thought. It is literally a suburb area on an island that prisoners are living with. In order to get food, they have to work for it. They work a normal 8 to 5 job, and then they get paid that day for how long they worked. It's a lot more normal than I thought it was going to be, and I think that's what made me like it a lot more. They actually live in duplexes instead of prison cells, which is actually pretty cool. It actually added like an element of like human nature into the whole like prison thing, because like obviously in real prison you're not going to have a whole house to yourself. You're going to be sharing a cell with someone possibly. I don't really know how prison works because obviously I've never gone. But yeah, this book completely threw me off with the whole suburb on an island full of prisoners aspect. I was not expecting that whatsoever. I think that the main character was well written. I kind of got confused at times because at the beginning I thought she was kind of like a shy person from the description and the whole court case, but throughout the book she actually showed that she wasn't shy and she was actually a very determined character, which I love because determined people get things done. That's just my opinion. You guys have your own opinion. And speaking of determination about the character, it actually confused me sometimes when they'd be in a very scary situation and her determination would overpower her fear. I feel like if I was in a certain situation that she was in, fear would have definitely taken over 100%. Like if you've read this book and you know situations that I'm talking about, you probably understand what I'm talking about. Something I want to tell you guys that's a little different, that's not really that big of a spoiler, is the group that she goes into, the Breakfast Death Row Club. In the synopsis, it says that she had created the club, but in reality, when she got there, she had actually been introduced to the people, which had kind of automatically added her into the group. She didn't really make it. She didn't really have a choice but to make friends with these people, so I thought that was kind of strange how in the synopsis it made it seem like she found every individual and created a group, but in reality she was just introduced to these people and was kind of like, here, these are your friends, this is who you're going to be working with, this is who you're going to be around 24/7. So yeah, that was a little different. Not a big deal. I actually liked the group that she was in. I liked all of the characters. If I'm going to be honest, there isn't really anything that I would change about this book. It was a really overall well-written book for how short it was. So I was really impressed with how the author had created so many scenarios in this short of time. I mean, this isn't really a short book. Like, this is an average YA book that's not like over 450 pages. It's a well-length book, I will tell you that. Something I very much liked about this book, and the fact that it was a thriller, it didn't give you too much information early on, so you literally did not find out who was in the wrong until like the very end. Yes, it gave you hints as to who it could be, but the hints actually led to multiple people, so it was very hard to discern who was actually the killer until maybe the like last fourth of the book, maybe? I mean, personally, I figured it out 100 pages before it was actually revealed, and I will explain you through that process either later on in this video, or you can go watch the reading vlog. It doesn't have any spoilers in it. It just helps me explain a little bit without spoiling anything. So yeah, you should definitely go watch that. I would recommend this book to people that love mystery and thrillers and horror. There was obviously a lot of killing and murdering in this book, as it's called Murder Trending, which I think that's actually what attracted me to this book overall, was honestly the hashtag Murder Trending title and the cover alone. I've always loved loved a little bit of thriller books, and honestly, I was very intrigued with the title, so good job on picking the title and the cover. Even though you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, this one, I didn't really judge the book by its cover, but it really attracted me to read it more. That's not really judging, that's just attraction towards the book. Yeah, overall, I absolutely love this book. I would recommend it to anyone that likes to read or watch scary things, mysteries, thrillers, anything like that. Like I said, I rated this at 5 out of 5, and I loved everything in this book. But this is going to be the end of the non-spoiler section. So if you have not read this book, thank you so much for watching this video. I do have other book talks and other videos, including writing videos that you can go and watch. But if you have read this book, or if you want to know more about the book, continue on and I will tell you all of my deep and darkest thoughts about this book. And now that we're on into the spoiler section, I'm going to start off with all of the theories that I had. Earlier on, I told you that I had 2 out of 5 theories right, kind of 3 out of 5, so I'm going to be telling you the theories and which ones I got right. My first theory was that one of the killers had actually gone rogue and decided to kill people outside of the island. Obviously, I had not been right. I mean, technically it was a killer since it was Prince Slicer, but overall it was the postmaster that pretty much killed Monica. So I did not get that one right because I thought it would have been like one of the other killers. I think Gucci Mane was the first one that I thought was her killer, strictly because of how she killed Blair. My second theory was actually one I got right. It was maybe the killer was a person that had kidnapped her early on in life when she was a child, and they came back to torture her even more. So I got that right with the whole Kimmy situation and her dad and postman. It was a very early on speculation. I think it was probably chapter like 5 that I thought of that theory, just because I think that was around the time we first saw the chapter of her first experience being kidnapped. So I was a little excited that I got that one right. It kind of led on to that throughout the book, so I wasn't surprised when it was revealed that it was Kimmy, but I was a little surprised, but not. The third one I did not get right at all. The third one was I was betting that Niall was the postman and was secretly torturing these people. Just because of how free-spirited he was, it kind of like made him suspicious. I mean, honestly, I didn't really think he was the postman, but I wrote that down just because of like, how crazy would it be if in the end he actually was? So I didn't get that right, wasn't expecting you to get that right. It was just a theory I threw out there. Okay, so this is the fourth theory that I like half got right, half didn't. So my fourth theory was that the postman was sending killers out to frame other people to bring back to the island for more content. I was kind of right on this because he was using the therapist to kind of screw people over in their court cases. She actually had them admit that they had done the crime and that they were guilty even though they weren't, which ended up putting them on the island. So it wasn't necessarily the killers that were getting people blamed, but it was the therapist that they worked for. So overall, I was half right, but half not right. My last theory, I was spot on. My last theory was Mara is Kimmy. So I suspected a little bit on earlier in the book when Mara started acting a little strange when she got information wrong about some of the killers. So that was the only like part in the book that would have led to Mara being Kimmy, but I followed my intuition on that situation. I straight up wrote down Mara is Kimmy, specifically from her saying something about coats and how the gasser wore this kind of coat, and then I think Grist had corrected her on it or something like that. But that was a situation where I was like, Mara is Kimmy and you cannot convince me otherwise. Even though later on in the book it still had me like, who is this? Who is that? Something else that I really wanted to talk about in this book was the romance. Obviously, it wasn't the main point of the book, which I really loved. I immediately knew when Niall kissed Dee the first time that there was going to be a love story involving them. I knew it. It happened. I was right. But it was something that I figured was going to happen since the first time they kissed, even if it was a cover-up to make her shut up. Just saying, I saw it coming. And I loved the relationship. I thought they were good together. So I was really happy that the relationship continued on into the book. Yeah, I loved the relationships in here. I'm not gonna lie. Grist and Ethan, not expecting to like that relationship, but more into the book, they actually showed characteristics of liking each other but disliking each other. I liked the relationships in this book. Next up, I wanted to talk about a couple of things that really surprised me. So the first thing that really surprised me was the fact that Blair was the first one killed the day after Dee arrived. To be honest, I thought it was going to be a stranger that they didn't know, and it was going to show Dee, this is what happens when you get killed, blah blah blah. But no, it was Blair, the really nice girl that introduced her to everyone. Technically Niall introduced her, but Blair was the one that was kind of like warning her and being very friendly with her. So it was kind of Dee's first friend, if that makes any sense, on an island full of killers. Something else that really surprised me was when her dad had posted on Monica's account about how Kimmy had been released a couple weeks ago, which I At the time, I didn't know if it was a whole trick or not, if it was Kimmy posting that, or if it was her dad posting that. But overall, it was her dad that posted that, and I was actually really surprised by that, to be honest. Something that I don't get is how did she see that out of the like millions of comments that people have on the videos? So that's something that I was a little suspicious of, was out of all the comments, thousands of hundreds of comments that there are on these feeds, how did she end up specifically seeing her dad's post about Kimmy? That's the only thing I was suspicious about, but it was still good in the end because Dee was warned about Kimmy, which ended up kind of letting her know that Kimmy was either there or that she was behind everything. So overall, good but confusing. Okay, can we just talk about Ethan's death for a second? That really surprised me, especially how he kind of went out with a bang. I thought it was actually really funny how he was correcting the killer and being like, nope, this is wrong. If you're gonna do this, you have to do it right. He was a very confident character that I could have easily gotten along with. He was very carefree and he was very loving. I wasn't surprised that he was killed, but I was kind of hoping that he would have been the ones to make it out with them. But overall, it did kind of increase their like, we need to find the killer right here, right now, this is it. So it sucked that he died, but it kind of pushed them even further into action, even though they were into action already. But yeah, I don't think his death scene could have been any better. I do agree with the characters that that is definitely what that character would have wanted for his death. Okay, so something that surprised me at the time was when Mara was taken and she was killed. That actually threw me off a little bit, but I still had my suspicion. I did not cry during this part, but I kept like gasping. I was like, what is happening right now? Is Mara actually being killed? She was so close to saving her. So this was just a really intense scene. I was actually very surprised that they even got her and like how they got her, but it actually makes 10 times more sense that she kind of just left them in the theater instead of like being taken. It would have been a lot easier for her to just run out and not be noticed instead of like someone coming to take her. I was actually wondering about that part about how no one noticed. Someone literally came in and grabbed her, but that would make a lot more sense is that she just left by herself. Okay, when they revealed that Prince Slicer was the postman, I did not see that coming whatsoever. I did not think that the postman was going to be that involved in the game. I thought he was just going to be sitting in this office and like watching everything on a million screens, but he was literally Prince Slicer, the first person killed, well besides Monica, in this book. And the fact that Dee had killed him probably pissed Kimmy off even more, and it actually stirred a lot of things into action. Like all the food wasn't coming back in, people were dying, and I was very suspicious of the whole like gas thing. I kind of suspected a little bit before they did that everyone else was dead, so that really surprised me that they didn't notice earlier on. I did kind of notice that like as they were running around no one else was out, but like earlier on in the book when they were out they would see at least 1 or 2 people, so that kind of led me to suspect that everyone else was dead. Although I did suspect that they would go to people's houses and not find them at all, not gassed out, including the guards. I was not planning for the guards to all be dead. I thought they would just be gone, but with Kimmy's reasonings it does make sense that she killed absolutely everyone. Now to talk about the things that I loved about this book. One of the things that was pretty simple about this book was all of like the chats afterwards, like after the chapters. I did thoroughly actually enjoy those. It's kind of like, to be honest, it's kind of like watching a YouTube video and seeing what people's thoughts are, because all these people are having thoughts about the recent like day. So I was actually really interested in people's thoughts, or like people's thoughts of like the events that were happening, so I did actually appreciate that they added that in. The only thing in this book that really confused me was there's like a graph in here that really confused me. Like I did not understand it whatsoever. So they would have these graphs every once in a while, and I just did not understand the whole like odds and $2 payout. I did not understand that, but like obviously I understood like the inmates' names and how long they survived, and like I just didn't understand like the bottom part of that graph that much, but obviously it wasn't that big of a deal. It didn't really affect anything. It just was kind of like a poll of what people thought, I think, like how long she was going to survive. Not sure, but I think that's what it is. Another thing that I really loved was the actual big reveal at the end. Not a lot of books have like super big reveals. They're kind of just like reveals that everyone saw coming, but this reveal, no, I don't think anyone saw this coming. Just saying. Like I said earlier on in the video, I kind of suspected that it was Mara. The fact that I was actually right, my suspicions were true, had generally surprised me. Speaking of being generally surprised, that's something else that I really loved with this book. There were a lot of moments where I was so surprised from like the events that were happening. Like I said, the whole Blair, her dad message, Prince Slicer, continuous surprises in this book, and I absolutely loved it. Normally in murder mystery books, I can kind of like pinpoint what happened with who, and I can figure it all out before the book even ends. But because there were so many surprises and plot twists in here, it was kind of difficult to do that. So I really appreciate that this book had so many turns. I do enjoy every once in a while, not every book, every once in a while being surprised. I do like to solve the cases before the characters just so I feel good about myself. I did enjoy this book and how it did throw me around in my thoughts. Overall, I think this book is amazing. I actually just got the second book in yesterday, so I will be reading that soon. I don't know if I will be doing a book talk or not, but if you want to see a book talk, comment down below if you want to see it. I'm actually really excited to read this, so I will be reading it soon. Don't know when though, because I am participating in the Reading Rush stay-at-home challenge, and I will be posting this video way after that video, so obviously it's going to be a while since you see this one. Just saying, so I have a lot of books planned out, but I could push this one up more if you guys really want to see a book talk about it. The characters overall were all well written. They were great characters. They were very three-dimensional. Well, most of them. I thought Griselda could have been like, had another side to her that was just really nice, but she was kind of just bitchy the whole time, but I'm not going to complain about that because you know what? Some books do need bitchy characters, so I'm not mad at the fact that Griselda was a bitch the whole time. Before I went into this, I did think this was going to be a hit or miss book, and it was definitely a hit book. Now I'm just hoping that the second book is going to be a hit book. Thank you guys so much for watching. Comment down below if you've read this book or not read this book, what your thoughts are on it. And if you do have something spoiler, put that at the beginning of your text so you don't spoil anyone else, because that's not cool, even though I am known for spoiling. Sorry about that. Like this video and subscribe to my channel to see more videos like this. I will see you guys next time. Bye guys!